Oh, Deputy Pat Deering first.
Thank you, Conor, and I thank the Minister for giving me a couple of minutes to say a few words on this particular issue. And I suppose I come from this from the heart of rural Ireland, and I was delighted to see in the past number of weeks a lot of members in this House have a newfound interest in agriculture, which is strange for a change. We don't often get an opportunity to speak about agriculture here, but a number of members have a newfound interest, which is great. I hope that is maintained over the next period of time. And I've always said agriculture is hugely important to rural Ireland. During the so-called bad days of 0, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, along that period, it was agriculture that dragged this country out of the mire it was at the time. It was agriculture that made sure that we laid the foundation for a strong basis that we have today in this country. So it's very important that agriculture is maintained over the next period of time. And I suppose when we talk about the issue of the time, the beef sector at the moment, and this is a sector that has been in difficulty for the last number of years. And it has, when you see the figures, when 114% of the beef farmers' income is coming from Europe, it's a sector that's in serious difficulty and it has to be addressed. The committee, our Agriculture Committee, which did a report on this in conjunction with cross-party committee in conjunction with Deputy McConalogue, Deputy Cahill and others, did a very good report on this sector only last June, July when we finished our report. We had 12 recommendations, and the vast majority of those recommendations have been taken on board by most of the farm organisations in the last number of weeks. And I suppose the predominant and the end result of this report was that there is no silver bullet to solving the problem. No silver bullet. It's a very complex issue, very complex sector to deal with. My late father used to always say the suckler cow died in debt. I think he was right. You know, the suckler cow was, I think someone remember referenced earlier on, the cow produces that calf. That's the only thing she does once a year, and you have to wait until September, October to get a few pounds out of her. And then she goes on for the following year, and the same issue arises. So we have a huge issue in that regard to make sure that sector becomes profitable in the future, and it's not going to be easy. Over the past, I suppose, number of weeks, we have seen that the difficulties in the sector, difficulties in the relationship between the factories, the processors and the primary producers. And there's no doubt that relationships have broken down over that period of time, based on the fact that transparency has been a huge issue over the last period of time. Trust is broken down completely, and there's no confidence in that sector at the moment. And it's vitally important that trust is rebuilt, because at the end of the day, whether there's a dispute today, tomorrow or the next day, the farmer has to go to the factory with his end product, and that trust and confidence must be rebuilt. So it's important that the agreement of the last couple of weeks is built upon. It may not be the perfect solution, but I think it's a very important first step. But the crucial part of that, I think, is the task force that has been proposed in that regard. I think it's important that the task force is up and running as soon as possible. I do think it's important that it meets on a regular basis and that there is definite timeframes put in place to make sure that we have a very definite result out of that. But I also believe that the unfair trading practices that have been are presently being transcribed into Irish law that were passed in Europe in the last number of months, they come into being. But I think to give them a bit more strength, I think it's important that we have a sector regulator in this country to deal with the beef sector straight across the board. The sector regulator was put in place in Great Britain a number of years ago in the grocery sector, which I think was very important, and it has proven to be very successful. I think a sector regulator in the beef sector will be important to complement the work that has been done with the agreement in the last number of weeks.